So it's terrific to see such an amazing turnout on our first strike day. Well done, everyone. And we've got some brilliant banners going round as well, some bespoke DIY banners, so make sure you check those out as you're going round. Take photos of them and tweet them as you see fit. So it feels, I don't know about you, but I've got a bit of a sense of deja vu. It's a bit of a deja vu because we were out here over a year and a half ago striking about pensions. Here we are again. It's a bit warmer, it's a bit wet, but we're doing it again, and we really shouldn't have to be out here doing this again, should we? No. I feel a bit like Bill Murray in my favourite film, Groundhog Day. Have you seen that film? And he experiences the same day over and over and over, and he's really mean. Every day he's really mean, and he keeps experiencing the same day over and over. And I feel a bit like our employers need to learn the lesson that Bill Murray learned on Groundhog Day. They need to learn how to be a bit kinder, a bit more compassionate to us through actions on the range of issues that this strike is about. Because even though it feels a bit like a repeat of last year, this strike is actually quite different. Because we're protesting and striking to defend a range of conditions that have been deteriorating over the last 10 years with respect to our working conditions. And we've got speakers today, wonderful speakers from trade unions, also who are acting in solidarity with us, also political parties who are going to speak in support of us this year. And we'll hear some of the issues that are bringing people out on strike a little bit later. I want to introduce first some of the people who are going to come up and speak in support of us and in solidarity with us. And I'll introduce them each in turn, but they could also say a few words about themselves as they're coming up, so just so we know who they are. But first I'd like you to give a big hand to Joe Stevens from the Labour Party, who's going to speak in support of us.
Thank you, Steve. I'm Joe Stevens. I've been the Labour MP for Cardiff Central, very proud university MP, and I'm standing as a candidate in the general election next month. And I'm joining you here again today. I was here in February. It is a lot warmer. I am feeling slightly hot. But thank you for inviting me to speak to you again today. First of all, thanks to all the members here, thanks to the reps, thanks to the picket supervisors who will be doing incredible work over the next few days, and thank you to the officers of the UCU as well. I'm bringing solidarity not just from Cardiff Central Labour Party, but from my fellow candidates across Cardiff, Kevin Brennan, Stephen Doughty and Anna McMorrin, but also from the amazing Cardiff Labour students over here who are with you every step of the way. When I addressed your rally last February, I explained that for me, your fight is a personal fight for me as well. I'm the daughter of a university lecturer. My dad spent almost his entire working life teaching and researching in universities. And my mum is a USS widow pensioner. So this matters to my mum, it mattered to my dad, and I promise you, it matters to me too. And I represented UCU members as a trade union lawyer for over 25 years before I became an MP. I was a solicitor at Thompson's and helped UCU members with all sorts of issues in the workplace, many of which, I'm sorry to say, continue today. And I want our world-leading universities not just to be world-leading on the charts and the top 100 about everybody coming to Cardiff. I want people to come to Cardiff to study. But I want our world-leading universities to be world leaders in how they treat and how they reward everybody who works in them. You can't do one without the other. And this general election, just like this dispute, is about fairness. It's about equality of opportunity, and it's about rebalancing the power relationship in the workplace and across society. Because marketisation of higher education has led us to where we are today. You all know that. That started with that dreadful decision by the coalition government to triple tuition fees. It led to universities chasing every single pound and chasing profit instead of concentrating on what they should be doing primarily to educate the next generation through our brilliant teaching and professional staff. It's fueled the building expansion that we see across Cardiff and across other university cities. Now, I don't have a problem with universities expanding, but I do have a problem if at the cost of expansion, it means that staff who work in the universities lose terms and conditions and their employment becomes more precarious. It's fueled this building expansion trying to manipulate balance sheets, and that in turn has led to the actuarial valuation problems with the pension scheme that are being used in order to put contributions from you up to an unaffordable 9%. At the same time that your pay over the last decade has been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. So it's effectively, in real terms, worth 20% less. So you've got that double whammy of squeezing of terms and conditions at the same time as pay is decreasing in real terms and your pension contributions going up. And coupled with that, casualisation, huge pay gaps for women and men, for BAME lecturers and academics and professional staff, and for disabled staff. This is a horrible, toxic mix, and we need to find our way out of it. And you have an opportunity to do that, and I'm going to do a little bit of campaigning now, but you do have the opportunity to do that on December the 12th. Because if you elect a Labour government, we will end marketisation in higher education because we will have a free national education service for all. We will end tuition fees in Wales and in England and in Scotland. And we will also be bringing in an employment rights bill. So we will give every worker rights at work from day one. And importantly, that removes the incentive, just like removing tax loopholes removes the incentive for companies like Google and Amazon. Workers' rights from day one means that the incentive to put people on crappy contracts, short-term contracts, on casualised contracts goes, because there's no incentive to do it, because everybody gets treated properly, everybody gets treated the same, and you have rights and protections that you can enforce in law. You have passed the first hurdle in this dispute because you've beaten the thresholds in the Trade Union Act, that vile, despicable, undemocratic act that we fought so hard against in Parliament. And we will repeal the Trade Union Act when we have a Labour government, so that's another reason for thinking about your vote on December the 12th. So I'm going to wrap up now just by saying thank you to you. As you embark on this period of industrial action, I wish you good luck, I wish you solidarity, I wish you strength. And in the words of Joe Grady, take the opportunity to remind your wonderful students and the wider world how much you and all your work matters, because it is so, so important for the future. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks so much to Joe for explaining so clearly some of the broader contextual factors which are influencing what's brought us all here today, this morning on our first day of strike action. So thanks so much to Joe. Next up, we're going to hear from another amazing supporter who offered us enormous solidarity, particularly last year during our strike as well. And that's Shavana Taj from Wales TUC. Let's hear it for Shavana.
Sorry, I'm a bit rough left, so I need to get myself.
So, I'm Shavana Taj, often referred to as Shav Taj, which is my preferred option. I am the Vice President of the Wales TUC and also the National Officer for PCS Union, the Public and Commercial Services union as well for Wales and the South West, and I'm here really today to extend our support and solidarity to each and every one of you, and to also say that it's absolutely amazing that yet again, as Joe says, you've smashed the Tory stranglehold on our ability to take strike action in the first place. Much has been said already about your terms and conditions, but one of the things that is very important about today, and that is that we should be working to live, not living to work, because you all know, each and every one of you standing here today, the impact that stress and increased workloads and precarious employment has on individuals. Yeah. Whether they are lecturers or whether they are students, mental health is a real issue, and it is a huge crisis in this country and in this nation. But there is one important thing about today, and this is day one of your 8 days of strike action. But what I will say to you is, you did this last year, and I'm sure none of you thought that you would be standing here today. And actually all this does is further prove that we've got to keep going and not lie down when the time gets tough. We've got to keep going because you can win this dispute. We know that you can win this dispute, and the trade union movement has many examples of where we have won.
Yep.
There's going to be lots of pressure being applied to each and every one of you. There will be pressure applied on the students, sometimes even by their own parents, who will say, why are you out on those picket lines? We're paying for your education, you know, or you've got all of these loans, everything is so stressful at this time of austerity. But the fact of the matter is that this education is the best education that any student will ever receive in their entire lifetime. It is only by us standing in unity and solidarity and standing up to the bosses, because at the end of the day, the Vice-Chancellor here is on like what, 250 grand plus additional perks. Yes, was that 256,000? Was that 798? Oh my gosh, that's even worse than I thought it was. And at the end of the day, each and every one of you feel the pressure of having to justify your existence for even walking through the doors to do your work on a day-to-day basis. Pressure is applied on you to bring in the bucks for the university to exist in the first place. Whether it's teaching or whether it's bringing in and doing research on behalf of the university, how much recognition do any of you actually genuinely get for doing and completing that research and bringing in that money and bringing in that recognition and helping raise up the rankings of Cardiff University? How many of you genuinely feel that? How many of you genuinely feel valued? I would say few and far between. Actually, somebody's just said no. And that's the reality. And that is why people are so sick to death of being trampled on in this way. That's what this dispute is about. It is about several things, but it's also about each and every one of you. Never forget that, and know that the whole trade union movement in Wales and across the UK is with you, and we will continue to have your backs throughout this entire dispute. Solidarity.
I knew we would get a rallying cry there from Shavana. Let's thank her again for her talk. That was awesome. So next we're going to have another message of solidarity from a member of a very important union. All the unions are important, but this one is especially important at the moment in the context of the current action. And we're going to welcome now AJ Singh from the Communication and Workers Union. Let's thank AJ.
Yes, my name's Amarjit Singh. I'm the branch secretary for the CF area, so I've got members from Aberdare, Merthyr, over to Bridgend, Maesteg. but I bring a message of solidarity as a trade union as to one to another, because we're in the same position as you are, but you're lucky that you've had an opportunity to take strike action. We as a union, not once, but twice in 2 years, have broken the threshold twice. 87.1% yes vote in the first one, and 97.1% recently in a second ballot. And what happened? The anti-trade union law didn't work, so what they do, they take us to court. They take us to court and jumped up allegations that our members were forced to vote yes. No complaints at all. And on top of that, then they tell us, because there's a general election, we actually angled to have industrial action over the period of a general election. We were balloting our members before there wasn't even a thought of a general election. Let's be honest about it. It's a system working against workers. We as workers have got to stand up. I was in Carmarthen West yesterday, Simon Hart's constituency, getting him out and getting the Labour MP Mark voted in, because we need a Labour government to turn around and get rid of the anti-trade union laws that work against every single one of us. We want an equal society. We want an equal opportunity where our children, my grandchildren, can go to college and university and don't have to worry about the fees. That's the sort of society I want. I want a national health service that we have from grave to cradle to grave. That's the sort of national health service I want. I want public services. When I'm older, I will get looked after. And we have to turn it around. We as workers have the power. Not them in Westminster. We as the workers have the power. And I'll extend my solidarity. I told all my members, when they come to a picket line, a UCU picket line or any picket line, check your conscience. Check your conscience and think, if you were on a picket line and you had somebody coming up to it, you would ask them not to cross it. So don't you go crossing anybody's picket line. We will be going to having our appeal on Thursday. We just hope that the appeal is overturned and we are able to take industrial action before Christmas.
Solidarity!
But let me tell you, if we don't take it before Christmas, we'll have to take it after Christmas. The only way we will change if we get a Labour government. If we don't get a Labour government, we will be still taking industrial action after Christmas, because them issues that we've got in our workplaces, same as yours, will not go away. So a message of solidarity from the CW to UCU. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, AJ. That was a brilliant message of support to us. It's also a helpful reminder if you're on a picket line in subsequent days, if you see a postal worker, do ask them kindly. If they won't cross the picket line, you may need to explain to them why we're striking, and they may know about it, because there was a message sent out to all of them to encourage them not to cross our picket line. Okay, so next up we've got another amazing supporter wishing us wishes of solidarity, which is Dave Reid from Cardiff Trades Council.
Well, thanks very much. I'd like to bring solidarity from all the trade unionists who are affiliated to Cardiff Trades Council, 40,000 in Cardiff alone, for supporting your struggle. And it's, I have to say, I've seen some old friends from last year, and I'm very happy to see you, but obviously it's unfortunate we have to fight again. But isn't that what faces us at all? We're bringing solidarity because you're fighting on pay, you're fighting on conditions, you're fighting on pensions, you're fighting on gender equality. You really sum up what all trade unionists know, the battles that are taking place, and now you have the opportunity to stand up. And I think this magnificent turnout today shows the determination that you have to see this through to the end this time. Because clearly, these things have to be wrapped up by determined action. And I think also, because you're summing up the struggle of us all, it's commensurate on us to mobilise as much as possible. And that's what we've been trying to do this morning, with trade unionists from at least 6 unions coming and supporting your picket lines.
Thank you.
And they're doing that not because of some sentimentality, but because they know that your fight is their fight. And I think as well as bringing solidarity to you, we should all bring solidarity to the CWU to fight the outrageously undemocratic decision of the courts to ban a strike with 97% voting in favour of it. And I think in Britain, we are reaching the point where we're going to have to say maybe it's better to break the law than break the poor when it comes to industrial action. Because if they apply these laws to themselves, these Tory MPs who passed this legislation, not one of them would be in Parliament. Because they could never reach the 40% threshold to get elected themselves. And if you force people to work when they want to take the democratic decision to go on strike, there's another word for that, and that's called slavery. Forcing people to work against their will. We're not prepared to put up with that anymore. And also I think, I was reading today that some of the Vice-Chancellors are saying they're sympathetic to your cause. And without batting an eyelid, these people on £250,000, £300,000 a year then say, unfortunately, we can't afford it. And that's when they spend £100 million on vanity projects, on buildings, which one of your colleagues pointed out to me today would mean you could afford 200 lecturers in Cardiff University with that £100 million. So don't come to us and say they can't afford decent pay, decent working conditions and a security of employment. Don't come to us. Doesn't that sum up the situation in Britain today, where you have an elite who say that they can't possibly afford to pay decent wages but themselves live on fantastic living standards? Doesn't that sum up Britain today? And now we have an opportunity. Now we have an opportunity to make a difference. Firstly with your strike action, which I think if you keep this kind of support will win through. Secondly with the CWU taking action. But also, with this election we have the opportunity to smash the anti-union laws, to vote for a real alternative, to vote for policies that will start to turn the tide against the elite, against the super rich and for working people. And therefore I think it's an opportunity in this cold December period with the climate strikes taking place as well. It's an opportunity for us all come together as a trade union movement to come together in strike action and political action and make a fundamental difference. Thank you and solidarity.
Hey, thanks so much to Dave from the Trades Council there. So we've heard some amazing messages of support and solidarity from trade unions and political parties. Now we're going to hear from 3 and more actually UCU members who are going to speak about why they're going on strike and why they support the strike action. So let's give a big round of applause and welcome to Catherine from Joe Met.
Hello everyone, I recognize too many faces.
So yes, I'm Catherine Walsh, and I am the Deputy Picket Supervisor down at Jomek. Greetings from the sunny south. So yes, the essay question I've chosen to answer is, why am I on strike? You're going to hear a lot of really wonderful things, especially if you come to things like the teach outs, and there are going to be better people, better philosophers, and better poets coming behind me to talk to you about why this is more than a job. And it absolutely is. If you teach, if you research, if you serve students and your colleagues in professional services, you know that it's more than a job. But if you would please humor me for the next 4 minutes, I would like to speak on a purely instrumental basis in terms of why this is also just a damn job. Because it is also a job. Y'all have mortgages, car payments, kids to send to university yourself, you hope someday, stuff like that, groceries. It's called a job because they have to pay you to do it. That's why we call it a job. Otherwise, it's fun, right? So we come here, we have some fun too, but we come here because it's a job. And we trade our time. They give us money so that we are productive, and we give them our time and we are productive and we get the money, and that's kind of how the whole system works since slavery. That's kind of how it goes. So think for a second about all the fantastic people you work with and how talented they are and how hardworking they are and how well trained they are. And I'm not talking just about the 25 years they spent in education, but the fact that they work hard educating themselves all the time after. And think if you can think of another sector in the UK that's got a higher density of harder working, more honest, more intelligent, and more agentful people. I really can't think of another sector like that. Really. I mean, I'm a bit biased being here myself, but when I'm thinking about the people I see. The people I see are like that. Now, have any of you seen the graph that compares your pay to CPI and what the rest of the UK workforce has been getting paid since the financial crash 10 years ago? Anybody seen that graph? Well, you know that graph is a bit of a U, and it's quite depressing, and it's all below 100%. So we all know we're making less. But what kind of shocks me is we're actually making less than the average worker. The average worker's gotten actually more than we have. And what did I just say about who I've got working with me? Now, on the pay, we got offered 1.8% last time I looked. CPI in 2018 was running at 2.5. It's not much, is it? A few hundred quid, not a big deal. But of course you know that you're being paid a fifth less, approximately 20% less than you would have been had we just kept up with inflation over the last 10 years. And that's been happening nickeled and dimed, death by 1,000 cuts, a few percent, 0.5%, 2/3, 1.5% every year below inflation. And now we're a fifth. So throw yourself into the future, a few years, now you're making a quarter less, a few more years, and now it's a third less. At some point, you have to go out on strike and say, no, you're going to pay me inflation and a bit more this year, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now cast yourself 20, 10, 20, 30 years in the future. You are old. You are old. If you're lucky, you'll get there. If you're lucky, you get to be old. And you need to care about future you, and you need to care about your dependents when you're older, and your survivors when you pass on, which you eventually will. I know death is something that happens to other people. It happens to us as well. And think about what you're going to have. With the whole pensions thing, unfortunately, we're all back here again, basically because the victories that we won 18 months ago have slowly been eroded to the point that the Joint Expert Panel comes back, essentially agrees with us, and the USS decides that they're not going to listen. They don't care what the JEP said. And then the employers say they'll agree with that. Professor of statistics from Warwick named Jane Hutton didn't like that, wanted some stuff shown. She got dismissed. Nobody knows why. Why? We don't know why. It's been redacted. They won't release stuff. We don't even know. This is a nonsense. So if you're annoyed about your pay, I'll tell you your pensions are no better than they were when we were doing this last time. So pension is deferred pay. If they weren't putting money into a pension, they'd have to pay you more so that you could run your own SIP or whatever, right? You'd have to have your own pension. Because, again, think of who you are. So well educated, so important. Training doctors, training engineers so we don't all fall off bridges. What are you worth to society? Do you think you should be on cat food when you're 80? If not, they have to put money away for you now. If they won't put money away for you now, they're going to have to give you quite a bit more so you can put it away for yourself. Yeah. And that's it. That's the pure personal financial situation of it. I know, I'm not getting a lot of cheers. It's a bit technical. I've turned off all the emotional sides of your brain and you're just listening to numbers. You're not supposed to do this in political speeches. I teach political communication. You're supposed to keep it emotive so that you get cheers and everybody's involved. And the worst thing is when you start spouting out numbers, because then everybody starts thinking and they turn off the excited bit. It's fine. But you're all university lecturers, so I know you'll put up with another few seconds of this. It's really, 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 really important. And we're right. Now, I am quite old at this point. Decades ago, I used to pick lots of fights I couldn't win because I was just generally ornery and a bit stupid. I'm older now. I try to only pick fights I win. I think I can win this. I think I can win this because you agree with me, and you've all come out and stood in the wet and the cold this morning. And I think I can win this because we are right. We are absolutely right. Supposed to have a good concluding paragraph of this essay. I kind of don't, except to say that just thank you so much for belonging to the union, supporting each other, and just coming here today. I cannot do this alone, and neither can any of you. We need to be together on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Catherine, especially for holding the fort there down at Central 1, is that what it's called? Cardiff 2. Two Central Square down at the Joe Mac picket line, opposite the train station for the first time. So we can't quite engage in the same picket excellence framework, the PEF, that we did last time, to really compare, you know, who's doing the best at the picket line, because that's what it's all about really, isn't it? Competition. No, actually we're showing here it's not all about competition. It can be about supporting each other, about being in solidarity with each other, taking care of each other, being compassionate and so on. Now, it's been very clear, actually, those of us listening so far, that this feels similar to last year, but it's not the same day, it's not Groundhog Day. This is a different strike. It's not just about pensions. This is one of the key messages that we need to get across to our colleagues and our students and members of the public. It's not just about pensions. We'll hear next about how really it's about precarity as well, this strike. It's about precarity and protesting precarity. So I'd like everyone to welcome Renata from Dentistry.
I'm not a dentist. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for all this massive crowd. So I'm, apart from being from dentistry but not a dentist, I'm also UCU anti-casualisation officer. One of UCU anti-casualisation officers. We actually have two, Rowan somewhere, yeah? And so, yes, casualisation is one of the things I would like to focus on. I was going to say in this short speech, I haven't timed it, but it looks short. But yeah, this strike has many different facets, and that's fantastic, because we are tired of the direction universities are taking. We are tired of having clients instead of students. Yeah. We are tired of responding to managers who are focused on metrics and empty look-good measures. Thank you, Andy. We're tired of the day-to-day consequences that this model has for us, and it's a model that's just not working for the majority of those involved, students alike and taxpayers alike, actually. So whether we want it or not, most of us are now well aware of the dangers to our pensions, the dangers now as the contributions might go up, and the dangers in the future if the scheme is continuously under attack. Most of us are also well aware of issues of workload, so we feel it, we see it around us. And gender pay gap is also something that's been on the news, and I think we all pretty much aware of. We might not be so aware of other gender inequalities we're also fighting for, so race, disability, also the gap between the managers and the rest of the staff. So all of this is part of our fight. And I was going to say that perhaps so many of us are not so much aware of pay deflation either, but Catherine has elucidated us very well, so now we know that our pay has gone down in real terms. I should say that I wouldn't be aware of all these issues, or so aware of all these issues, if it wasn't for my work with UCU. And I certainly haven't been aware of just how big casualisation is. And Rowan and I have been talking to so many people and trying to gather information and data and all of that, and we're just realizing more and more how deep does it go. And it's scary, it's frightening, it's horrendous to see what so many of our colleagues, or us included, go through at university. And how damaging it is to all of us, really, not just those facing casual work. And it's a deliberate choice by the university.
Yeah.
It's a deliberate choice that includes language with terms such as flexible work, agility at work, that's a kind of new one that's coming into the speech, includes making us believe that our work benefits us alone, that we're not workers, but we're professionals developing our careers, and making us believe that casualisation is a necessary evil, that academia by default depends on some casual contracts, because researchers really want to move around, they don't want to stick to one job. And what I wanted to say is that that's all crap.
Yeah.
It's not true. We are challenging those very notions that we need a casual workforce and that we want to be flexible, okay? And we really invite people to think of different models where this is not necessary, because it is not. And no matter how much we care about our work, and just to finish with this, how much we care about our work, how much we care about our careers, and how much we like to develop them, we are workers.
Yeah.
We are workers, and we are being exploited
Yes.
as workers. And let's fight for something more.
Thanks so much, Renata. That's brilliant, your talk there about the precarity that affects so many of our members and employees in university. So this strike, it's not just about pensions. It's about precarity, as well as all the other issues that have been mentioned around inequality, around workloads. In fact, there's a much broader staff group that's involved and implicated in the strike this time than last time. It's not just members of USS pension scheme who are striking this time. It's not just a lecturer's strike. It wasn't last time. It's not just a lecturer's strike. It's not just an academic strike either. It's a strike of academic-related and professional services staff. I learnt a handy new acronym. I can't say most of the acronyms at universities are particularly useful, but this one is really handy. It's ARPS, A-R-P-S, academic-related and professional services staff. If I do another rap, which I wasn't going to do, but I might do because so many people are telling me I should, I'm going to put ARPS in it, because that's a good acronym for a rap. But I need some help, so if you can help me with rapping, I really need it. I wasn't cut out for this. Okay, we've left the best till last. You've stuck around, I'm so proud of you. It wouldn't be a strike if we didn't get cold, you know, feel a bit miserable. That's what it's a little bit about, but it's also about joy. It's also about a group of people who have been incredible, actually, so far in the strike, and you might not be aware of all that they've been doing. I have left the best till last. I'm now going to introduce you to our amazing students, and they're going to tell you some incredible news that you may not know about. We've got very good news to share with you. So let's welcome Hebe, and the students are going to speak to us about their support.
My name's Hebe. I'm a postgraduate student in the School of Social Sciences, and we wanted to tell you some news today about something that happened last week. I've got some notes on my phone, so it will help. Over the past few weeks, Joe, Rachel and I were working on a mandate to put into the SU of whether the Students' Union would be supporting the industrial action. This motion was brought to the AGM on last Thursday, in what turned out to be an evening of passionate proposals and some radical plans. Thanks to Leo's motion, we've voted to become a living wage employer. We've made a vow to tackle institutional racism at this university. We have adopted a pro-choice stance. We voted for a radical climate change action. And we voted to support this industrial action. Also, thank goodness, we've defended the position of VP postgraduates, which was under threat. As a union, we have said that we will take an active stance in supporting you and everything this strike stands for. We will take a stance against unfair pay, against increased and unattainable workloads, against the gross inequalities at this university, and against precarious work contracts.
Thank you.
And we take a stance to support you. Because despite what the university might be trying to do, this action is not a time to create an us and a them between staff and students, but it's a time to stand together in solidarity. Because the issues we're addressing in this strike are issues that affect us all. They're the issues that come with a market of higher education. Of workloads that feel completely crushing, of the gig economy paychecks that come with that, and the inequalities that it produces and reproduces and reproduces. So, we stand here today in solidarity, not as customers, but as students who support the strike. From all of us here about why we support the strike for various reasons, many reasons. So I support the strike because I think it's disgraceful that my grandmothers were protesting the gender pay gap, that my mother was protesting the gender pay gap, and I'm standing here today still protesting the gender pay gap.
I'm Joe. I'm a postgraduate student in the School of Modern Languages. I am 26 next month. I know, I don't look it. Stop it. But no, I'm 26 next month, and if you do the maths, you'll realise that I came to university in 2012, which was the first year we had £9,000 fees. And after they were tripled. Now, obviously, there was a huge amount of resentment against that. And at the time, I think a lot of people, even of my age, didn't understand why it was that the fees were being raised, or if they understood why the fees were going up, they didn't understand, you know, what was so bad about it. It was just kind of the natural progress of what was going on. You know, fees were introduced, fees went up, we expected them to go up again. This is a constant process of marketisation in the higher education sector, which has created a situation where students see themselves as customers and the university is seen as a service provider. And I actually disagree with Joe Stevens. I don't know if she's still here. I actually disagree with Joe Stevens that this started under the coalition government. This started way, way earlier under Margaret Thatcher, when things started to become marketised for the sake of it, taking things that should have never been introduced to the market and putting them into some sort of liberal market ideology that everything has a price tag. Well, I think every single person here can testify and say, well, education does not have a price tag. Education is a public good. And that's why I'm here, because I see a future in this sector. It's as simple as that. There's a future in this sector, but only if we fight to change things. And that's why we support this strike, and that's why we'll continue to do the groundwork on the student side to make sure that you have every single support that you need. Absolutely.
I think we're going to keep it brief now with just one-liners. But my name's Rachel, and I support the strike for many reasons, but one of those is postgraduates who teach don't have contracts. We are engaged with the university. We are not employed.
Postgrads now!
My name is Patrick. I'm a postgrad in the School of Social Science, and I support the strike because I want to be an educated citizen and not a customer of education or a standardized product of a learning factory.
I'm Antonia. I'm also a postgrad from the School of Social Sciences, and I'm going to try really hard to keep this at a minimum of 2 sentences, but it might run on a little bit longer, so you have to bear with me. All of you standing here today in front of me throughout my 4 years at Cardiff have inspired me. As someone from a low-income background, every single one of you, whether you know it or not, has had a profound impact on my life. When things like imposter syndrome and feeling like I don't deserve to be here have crept in, all of you have rallied around us and supported us and made us feel so much better. And to be honest, you deserve better, and we all deserve better, and that's why I'm supporting you today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phoebe, and as a daughter of a lecturer, I've seen the sacrifice and commitment it takes to be able to provide, the amazing level of education that we get. And the way things are going, it won't be able to continue like this without even more negatively impacting the students and staff. So I stand with you. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a PhD student in JOMAC. I'd like to say thank you to the person who said thank you to us. But I'm afraid, for me, I'm striking quite selfishly. I really want to go into this sector, and I think it's a bit rubbish at the moment. And I think it can be a little bit better.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I support the strike because I think it is ridiculous that the university pushes so hard for postgrad recruitment and a career in academia while refusing to treat those same people with fairness and respect.
Hi, I'm Jake from Law and Politics. I support this strike because whether it's undergraduate students taught by overworked, demoralised staff, or postgraduate students denied a contract, there is no staff interest or student interest. It's all of us, the victims of a higher education system, that see us as only numbers and pound signs. So from this student and from all of us, good luck to you all.
Hello, I'm Leo. I'm slightly different to the rest of my colleagues here. I'm an undergraduate in law and politics. I'd say I'm supporting the strike today because in the 3 years I've been here, I've seen PGR students and lecturers going above and beyond the call of duty to help students like myself. It's time to say #Hello Colin. We are here supporting the strike, students supporting the strike. You need to pay your staff fairly. Thank you very much.
Let's have a massive cheer and round of applause for all of our students.